Hello friends, welcome to Joy of Life. So today another medium level problem from Leetcode. The problem number is 56. It's about merge intervals. So the description says given an array of intervals where interval I is equals to start I, end I, merge all overlapping interval and return an array of the non-overlapping intervals that cover all the intervals in the input. So we will check example given in the problem. So we were given with some intervals like 1, 3, 2, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18, like this. So if you plot this, say this is 1, 2, 3. This is say 1, 3. Then we have 2, 6. So 2 is somewhere starting here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 and 6. So these can be merged into one single unit, which is 1, 6, right? And then we have 8, 10. So 8 is somewhere starting here. So 8 to 9 to 10. So let's say this is 8, 10, which cannot be merged because it's not overlapping, right? And then we have 15 to 18. Again, 15 to 18 is not overlapping, so it will be somewhere over here. It's not overlapping. Basically, the point is that. So what will happen? So 1, 3 and 2, 6 will merge to become 1, 6. Because if you see, it's like 1, 2, 3, and this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So it will become 1 to 6. So this is contiguous as you see over here. This is contiguous, right? So we'll have 1 to 6, then we'll have 8 to 10, and then we'll have 15 to 18. So if you see the output, there is nothing overlapping in this output. So here is the result: 1 to 6, 8 to 10, 15 to 18. Or we have another example over here: 1 to 4 and 4 and 5. So 1 to 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 and 5, 4 and 5. So this part, as you can see, is overlapping, right? So it will become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will become 1 to 5. So you can see here in the output as well. So yeah, this is the problem statement, and we need to come up with the solution. We'll take a look at the solution, but as I always recommend, to give it a try yourself before looking at the solution. So let's head over to the board and check out the solution. So today we are going to work on a little more complex but a custom input. So here are the ranges that I have taken. So consider them to be the start, and this is the end. So, and let's consider this is the scale where we are going to do this. So let's say this is 1, 2, 3, and so on. So if you see, if we plot 2 to 7, it will become something like 2 to 7. It's ending over here, something like this. And then I put 1 to 4. So 1 to 4 is something like this. I hope you can see. Yeah. So this is 1 to 4. Then we have 3 to 12. So 3 is over here and 12 is somewhere here. Yes. Okay, then we have 5 to 9. So 5 to 9, 1 to 8. 7 through 13. So if you see here, the yellows all are overlapping to some extent. So what will happen is eventually we will end up having a big row which is starting from let me change the color, starting from 1 to this, right? And for the blue one, this is my result, of course, so I'll just wanted to mark it as result, and this will have a range this. So my output would be 1 to 12, and it will be 15 to 20. So these all will be merged. As you can see here, these two has this common part, right? This has a common part with this. This has a common part with this. This has a common part. So everything has a common part. So how do we approach solving a problem like this? So basically what we are going to do is we need to, so if you see here, we need to track the start and the end, right? So I can say my start. So if I go by this input, so initially I will take the first element over here and say my start is 2 and my end is 7, right? And what we need to do as we encounter a new value, so once I come down here, so I see that my start is smaller than the start that I am holding, right? So I'll change my start to 1, and I'll since my end is fine, so I'll continue to have it 7. So similarly, when I get a 3 and the 3 and the 12, so here we are taking the minimum of the two. So 1 and 3, that we need to check that are they overlapping. So yeah, they are, and we'll take the smaller value 1 and the higher value of 12. But now the problem is it can happen that the things are scattered. So how do we know and how do we take this thing into consideration? So what we can do easily is, what if we sort this array, sort by start time. So if we sort this array by the start time, what we'll end up getting is something like this. Okay, so this is my this is my sorted list, which is sorted by the first index, right? So I can assure that this value is the smallest, and there cannot be any value which is smaller than this. The next value over here could be equal to this or could be greater than this, but it cannot be any smaller since this is already sorted by this field. So what I can do is I can just keep a track of start and end, and I can simply initialize the start and end with the value from the 0th index. So this is my 0th index, right? So I will take 1 and 4 and initialize this with this value, right? And then what I am going to do, I am going to iterate this entire array, and we'll see how we are going to consider the other value. So this is my initial state, okay? So we will change the start and the end, and what we are going to do is we are going to iterate. So we need an index, right? So we'll start from index 1. So what I have to basically check in index 1, in index 1, what we have to check that the starting of this range, so the range is 1 to 8, is falling in between this, in between my start and end or not. So if it falls in between the start and the end that I am holding, that means that this is overlapping. So we get a 1 and a 8. So as soon as I get a 1 and a 8, what does it means? That yeah, it is overlapping because 1, 2, 3, 4 was there. This is my start and this is my end. And I'm getting the next start, which is here. So this boundary will be inclusive of both 1 and 4. So this is definitely overlapping. So what I'm going to do is I am not going to change the start because I know that the start that I have is the smallest. It's never going to change, right? Because this is the smallest value. But what I'll check is I will take the max between the end that I have or this index. This index indexes so basically if my this is array is denoted by A, so I'll basically check A of I1. So what will happen is I will so let me just erase this and write it below. This is the formula. Okay, so what I'll have is 1 and this is also 1. So here what I did a max between my current, which is 4, and the new one, which is 8. So I put 4 and 8 over here and my result is 8. So my start and end is now at 1 and 8. Similarly, moving on to the next index, we get a value of 2 and my start and end is at 1 and 8. So 2 is fall. So basically what we are checking here, that ARR I0 should be less than or equal to the end value. So this is the check that we are performing in order to ensure that this is overlapping check or not. Okay. So what I get is we check for 2 and 2 is 2 less than or equal to 8. Yeah, 2 is less than or equal to 8. So what we do, we don't change the start and we take a max between 8 and the current value is 7 over here, right? So we check for 8 and 7. So 8 continues to stay there. So we increment to index 3 now. Okay, we get a value 3. We check if it is less than or equal to the end value, which is currently at 8. So yeah, 3 is less than or equal to 8. So what I'm going to do is I am not going to change the start. We'll keep the start at 1. And here we'll take the max between 8 and 12. So we get a 12. Okay, then we move on. We get a 5. So the index is 4 and we have a max, we have the start at 1 and we take a max between um, 12 and 9 and we still continue to have 12. The next index, we get a 7 and we see that it is still less than or equal to the end value, which is 12 over here. So we continue to have 1 and we take a max between um, 12 and 13 and we get 13 as an answer over here and we move on. We come to the index 6. So remember, now we have the two variables pointing at 1 and 13, right? So at index 6 we get a value of 15 and which is not smaller than or equal to 13. So at this point we know that the variables pointed by start and end has found one range and it has ended. Since these values are sorted, so there is no way we can have different values, right? So what we'll basically do is we will store this result. So we'll have a result list, you can say, and in this list what we'll do is we'll put 113 as a pair. So we know we have found a pair. Now what happens when this condition is violated at index 6, we get a 15 and 19. So we put those two values straight away as our start and end. Okay, and we have already stored our previous result. Now we move to index 7 where we get a value of 16. Is 16 less than equals to 19? Yes, 16 is less than. That means these two are overlapping. So what we'll do, we'll stick to 15 and we will take a max between 19 and 20 and we get a 20 and our array ends. So currently it's at 15, this is at 20. So the next element we add to the list is a 15 and a 20. And if you remember, this was our result and that's what we have also identified over here. Sorry, my bad. Previously I written as is 12, it will be 13. So you can see that we have identified these two results properly. So we are going to head over to Leetcode and write the simple solution that we have just crafted over here. So let's see how it looks on the code. So the first thing, we need to check the size of the array, that if the size is 0, then we just return what do we need to return? New int of say 0 0. We don't need to return anything because the array is empty, right? Otherwise what we are going to do is we are going to sort the intervals array that we have received. So we'll do a sort and we will pass a comparator to it. A very basic sorting that we are performing over here. We are using the inbuilt function. So we are passing the intervals and we are telling him for each element just sort by A0 minus B0 so that we have the smallest element at the top and the largest at the bottom. And it is only by the first values. So it will check between 1, 3, 8 and 15 and so on. So it will not consider this, right? Because we have mentioned A0, we have specified that. And the next, what we're going to do, we are going to keep a track of start and the end, and as we discussed that we are going to take the first index and we are going to initialize it with the same. Okay, So once we are done initializing, we are going to iterate over the rest of the array. We'll start from the index 1 because we have already processed index 0, which is our base condition. So we are going to go through the rest of the array. Okay, we're going to check for each of the intervals that the starting of this interval, so intervals I 0, so the 0th the first value should be less than or equal to the end value, right? If it, otherwise we are just going to update our end value with the values that is higher than this one. So we are going to check with intervals I and 1, right? So this will tell me that whatever is higher, it will be replaced, right? And what if it is not the case? If this is not the case, what we are going to do? We need a intermittent array wherein we'll be storing the result. So let's say we'll create a array of integers and intermediate result equals to new array list. I cannot construct this array right away because I don't know how many merge intervals will be there, right? At the end of processing the entire thing, I'll be able to say that. That's why I'm creating a list over here where I can just keep on adding the results. So let's say we have this intermediate result. So in the intermediate results, we are going to add the new integer, and we are going to put the start and the end, right? And so this is at this position where it didn't match, right? At this position. So we are pushing the result into the array and we are reinitializing the start and the end with the new values. So what are we gonna do? We are going to reinitialize the start and we'll be doing it with the interval I0 and I1. And we are going to initialize the end also with interval I and 1. Okay. And also at the end, when we are done with this for loop, we need to add this result once again, right? Because the loop might terminate without hitting this condition, right? So there will be some start and end which will be lying around. So we need to pick that up, and now we are gonna create the array that will be our final result. So let's call it result, and it will be a new int array of the number of rows would be intermediate result dot size. And I know that I'll be only storing two elements, like the start and the end of the merged values, and we'll populate the results. So let's use the index based iteration because we'll be needing the value of the I to be used, right? So we'll put a result dot size and I plus plus, and we are going to put arr I. We are going to just put the 0th and the first value, right? So this will not be result, it will be intermediate size. It could be result as well because we have done it with the same. So let it be. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to get the intermediate result, and we are going to do a get of I, and then we are going to get the 0th value over here. And for this, we are going to get the first value, right? And this will be stored at 1. So at the end, we are going to return the result. Okay, so just to reiterate, first check that if the array is empty. Otherwise, if it is not empty, we are going to sort the array based on the first position. So means this value 1, 3, 2, 6, and we are initializing the start and the end with the first element of the sorted array. So not this array. Keep in mind it's the sorted array because it is already sorted over here. And then we created an intermediate result to hold the result, And then we started our iteration from a first index till the length of the array. And what we are doing is we are continuously checking if the starting of this interval is less than or equal to the current end that I am having. So that will ensure that this is overlapping or not. If it is not overlapping, in the intermediate results, we are storing the start and the end as a new pair. So this is our merged pair, and we are reinitializing the start and the end with the intervals. Okay, so it will be intervals with the intervals new with the new interval start and end. And at the end there may be one of the result. It might not happen that this is the last element that we are encountering, right? So we are putting that result also over here, the same statement as one in the above here. And now we have all the pairs stored in a list at the end of the statement. And since we need to return a two-dimensional int array with the pairs, so we are creating a result array which is of the size which will have as many rows as the size of the intermediate result, and two columns, right? Or this for the start and the end. And then we are iterating over the array, and we are storing we are populating the array with the right values, and at the end we are returning the result. So let's run the code and check. Oh no, the spelling of the integer is wrong. Let's rerun again. What's wrong with me? It will be results. I have a habit of calling array as ARR, so pardon my mistake. Okay, it has been accepted. Let's do a submit and check for a wider range of test cases how it goes. Well, it has been accepted with 5 milliseconds, which is better than 94% submission. But yeah, once again, let's focus on the solution, the approach, the algorithm rather than the performance at this moment. But yeah, it is also important to look at the performance aspect, that we are not using too much of the memory, or our solution is close to the most optimized solution that we have. So it is highly recommended that you should have at least more than 60 or 70% of the entire submission with as less memory, because here also we are doing a linear order of n traversal, right? But we are doing a sort over here, which will increase our complexity to some extent. And in terms of memory, we are using an intermediate result array, which just think of a scenario wherein we don't have any merged interval. So this intermediate result will have as many interval that was passed over here. So our space complexity also remains at order of n. And of course, your result is not considered as a part of the of your memory usage, but yes, this will be considered as one. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Do let me know here what if you have any suggestion comments. Do give it a like if you think the solution is simple and was helpful to you. It would be of great motivation to me to get a like from you guys, or to hear from you guys, like how's it going so far, are you liking or not. I try to keep this as detailed as possible and as simple as possible. And I'll continue to create the way I'm creating. As long as I'm getting good views from you guys, I'm pretty much satisfied. So keep supporting the channel. And so that's all from this video. See you guys soon again, and have a great day. Goodbye.